Greetings everyone, this is Matt Fiello, Technical Marketing Engineer with Cisco Cloud Networking and Compute. And today I'm going to show you a little bit about multi-node appliance install and setup. I'd like to briefly go over the installation steps. First, we're going to get the DNS configured properly, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Then we're going to go on to installing the OVA, but we're going to do it 3 times for each of the nodes in multi-node. We're going to get them powered up and onto the network and making sure we can ping them by FQDN. Then we're going to take one of the nodes and we're going to complete a single node install by injecting the binary and getting that node up and running in single node mode. Then we're going to join the second and third node to the first node to form a cluster. And then finally, we're going to verify that cluster is formed properly and healthy. Okay, just to go over the DNS setup, we're going to set up A records for the 3 nodes. As I've done here, I've got all 3 records here. Making sure we get the proper IP address assignment. Easy to make typos here, so be careful with this. And then, after we make the A records, we're going to make CNAME or alias records for those 3 nodes with the required DC dash in front of the name. And go ahead and browse to the FQDN to make sure you get it correct, so there's no typos. And then finally, we want to make sure that our reverse lookup is in place. So go ahead and find those 3 nodes with reverse lookup and check those out, make sure those are good. This is really the most critical part of the setup. You have to have the DNS correct. Okay, we'll proceed with the first node OVA install. I'll do voiceovers for this first node. The next 2 sections for node 2 and node 3, I will not be doing voiceovers. The steps are there if you need to follow those steps. I would expect some to go ahead and fast forward through that portion. Just be careful that you're getting the right IP assignment, the right name. Also that you're selecting medium size for all 3 of your OVAs. And with that, let's go to the first node. Okay, we're going to deploy our first OVF template. I have both the OVA and the binary local to my junk box in my lab. Okay, this is critical here. You have to select medium or above for vCPU and disk space resources. I'm selecting thin provisioning because it's in a lab. If I was doing this in a production, I would keep it thick. Make sure you get the right VLAN port group. Do the network parameters here. Everything is default from a size perspective. And we're going to power it up once it completes. And I'm going to launch the web console to watch the boot. Okay, you have a good idea your DNS is correct because it comes up with a host name. But let's go ahead and log in with the admin account. And I do this for all my node deployments. So we're going to use option A can view your network settings. But then the real important one is option 3, run connectivity test. And let this test go for all 3 of the node deployments. Make sure you're passing all these tests here. This is going to check your IP, your DNS, gateway, do reverse lookup. All that has to be correct or you're kind of dead in the water with the appliance. You'll notice there's an option 7 in here for show node status. We'll come back to that at the very end. We'll use that as a test to make sure our cluster is up and running properly in addition to the UI. So we'll come back to that. Okay, it looks like everything is A-OK here. This needs to happen for all 3 nodes. So if you skip the next 2 sections, make sure you don't skip this test. Okay, so now that we have all three nodes alive, up and running, and pingable by FQDN, please make sure that that's the case. We can pick one of the nodes. It doesn't matter which one. They're all the same. And that's a normal URL that we would browse to. Okay, you have two options there. Install new, recover from backup. But we have a hidden scope. And I'm going to show you that hidden scope. And I have it labeled or listed out on a slide later. So just kind of follow me here. This scope will take you to a different UI that will have a third option. Add node to appliance. Now we don't need this option for the very first node install of the binary. It's just like a single node install of the CVA or PVA, right? But for the second and third nodes, we're going to use this option. So we're going to come back to this scope. Okay. And of course, for the CVA, which I selected, you're going to have to more than likely configure a proxy. So I'll configure my proxy. Obviously, for a PVA, you wouldn't be doing this. Okay, so now we got our green and yellow. We got our device ID and claim code. And now I'm going to go ahead and claim this up to Intersight. All right, I'm going to choose my SaaS account I want to claim to. This is the new UI. So you're going to have to change from infrastructure services to system and over to targets. We're going to claim a new target. And you can use the filter on the left side there. I mean, it's right there. I've already favorited it, but you can use a filter, go down to platform services, and then that's where your Intersight appliance is. We're going to copy and paste the device code and claim code, device ID and claim code. Okay, we've got a successful claim. So we've tethered our connected virtual appliance to the SaaS cloud. There it is. Okay, we're all green here. Properly claimed. Click continue. Okay, you have the option of downloading or simply uploading the appliance software. I have it local on my machine, my jump box. So now I'm going to select that binary. And click finish. This upload process takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes depending on your network speed. Okay, we obviously fast forwarded a little bit. Okay, now we're doing the installation. Now this installation will take some time. Took me 90 plus minutes to do this installation. Can't guarantee how much time it's going to take you. It's very dependent on your lab resources, your server, your network, and so forth. The cluster performance. So My advice here is just be patient. I've done this quite a few times. It's worked every time. Just let it complete. And of course, I've fast forwarded here. Again, we're just taking any one of those three nodes and we're building it out traditionally with the binary install. When it's done, you're probably going to have to refresh your browser to get to this screen. So just count on that. It doesn't hurt to refresh the browser a couple times along the way. It doesn't hurt at all. But when you get to the screen here, your install is complete. That's your normal routine login. So let's go ahead and log in with the admin account. Okay, click forward. I'm going to go ahead and allow the data collection, which is default. And then I'm going to go ahead and license this guy. So I'm going to provide an authorization code from Smart Licensing. Paste that guy in. This takes a few minutes to do, so give this guy some time. I've fast forwarded a little bit here, but it can take 5 or so minutes to do. Yeah, we're going to log in and we're going to go to settings. Then we're going to go to appliance on the left-hand side there. And we've got a healthy operational single node, as we would expect. Okay, now that we have a healthy first node completely installed, we're now going to have to join our second and third nodes to that first node and form a cluster. So to do that, we have to change the scope of the UI. So it's normally just https://fqdn, but now we have to tag on the /?scope equals tech preview. So you want to make a note of that. You definitely need to do that to get the third option to add node to appliance. Okay, so now we're bringing up the URLs for our second and third nodes with that change scope, tech preview scope. So we get that third option, add node to appliance. So let's go ahead and click on that for one of the nodes that we're adding. Click start. And then we're going to put in the FQDN of that single node that had completed install. In our case, it was the node labeled number 2. Again, it can be any of the 3 nodes to do the initial install. Okay, and that looks good. So we're going to go to that third node. Same FQDN, node number 2. And that looks good. So now we have to actually go to node number 2 and refresh your screen. Okay, and you can see that that second and third node have been added in. They're ready to join. That's the proper status. We're going to select all 3 nodes, all 3, and create cluster. Irreversible. And you've successfully began the process to create the cluster. Now this may take a few minutes on this screen, so you're just going to have to be patient. We will speed this up, but this can take 5 or so minutes. Okay, you can see that the cluster formation is taking place. Of course, lots of things have to get copied over to that second and third node. You're basically building out that second and third node with an install, and it's just going to all cluster everything together. So this process takes a long time, and I've sped this up for the video, but you can fully expect this to take the better part of 3 hours or so. I know in my case it took in excess of 3 hours for this thing to completely finish. Just be patient, give it time, it will work. And as a result of me speeding this up, I've shown a few screen prints. It's basically the whole entire screen will fill up with steps and green check marks. When it is done, you're going to get this screen. You're going to have to refresh your browser, most likely. Going to log in. We're going to go to settings, back to appliance. And this is exactly how it should look. We have a healthy multi-node cluster set up. Okay, you've seen how to check within the UI of the appliance at the URL to make sure the cluster is healthy, but here's how you can check through the CLI. So I've launched a console into one of the nodes. I'm logging in. And here's where that option 7 comes in, show node status. So go ahead and select that. Just takes a few seconds to run. And as you can see up at the top, we have operational node status for all 3 nodes. Cluster is formed properly. Gives you a little bit of information about the deployment size, etc. So just be aware that this option exists. Okay, that completes our installation and video. I hope you found this useful in some way. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. Have a good one.